Sitaram, and a pleasant good morning to all of our viewers and listeners, and welcome to an edition of the program Addiction and Recovery. I'm your moderator this morning, Jason Kaluwa, and join me as we welcome the host to the program Addiction and Recovery, Mr. Ramnes Dwarka. Sitaram, Jason.
Jason, it's indeed a privilege and a pleasure to be here again this morning to talk to our brothers and sisters out there. So I join with you in welcoming all of them, both locally in Trinidad and Tobago and those who are on the various networks, social media. And just to say that this program is aired again at 10 p.m. on the same media house and will be posted sometime later today on YouTube. So those of you who are unable to listen to it now or who would like to go back and refer to it, you can access it by putting in my name, Ramnaresh Dwarka, in YouTube, and you'll access all the programs. So I want to let our listeners out there know that this is also an interactive program where you are quite welcome to call in and ask questions or give your own short, brief comments on your experience or concerns about drug addiction. And I want to thank you and the staff out there, Jason, for sourcing the videos, very informative. And you touched a very important subject this morning in terms of the value of exercise in dealing with cravings and withdrawal symptoms. And I can say worldwide, all the treatment programs that have been used that I'm familiar with, the established treatment programs, they all have some component of what we call occupational therapy, which will include physical exercise. And I can speak to right here in Trinidad, when I worked at the CORA, the Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment Center. That program has an exercise component in it, physical exercise. It also has an occupational therapy department where people who are, while you're there, it's just common knowledge that an idle brain is a devil workshop. And so that people who have been active and busy using drugs, their life would have been just about revolving around using drugs and supplying their needs for drugs and all of that. When you're actually in active use, Jason, when you're not using, you're thinking about it, you're obsessed with it, when it will be the next time, or how I'm going to provide myself with it. The obsession is there all the time. So when you're not drinking, you're thinking, as it is said, and your life seems to revolve around that. So when a person stops, they have a lot of time. They don't realize it. And now they have a lot of time to think. And if you do not fill those voids with useful thinking and productive development and endeavors, you're going to slip back in your head. Relapse does not happen when you take that drink, Jason. That's the last nail in the coffin, as we say. It happens, you begin to relapse in your head first. When you start thinking about drinking, you start coming up with rationalization. When you're having reservations, when you have second thoughts, when you're questioning whether you're an alcoholic or drug addict at all, And there's a tendency sometimes for blaming others for our drug use, In the early stages, I remember myself, saying, boy, if I didn't go and hang out with them fellas, this wouldn't happen. And even my parents have a tendency not to want to blame their own children, or take any blame for themselves. They will quickly point to, look, it's not my son, it's the friends who just carry you and don't bring you back, it's the company he keeps. And there's some truth to that as well. Because yes, I did continue to drink because of the peer pressure to want to feel a sense of belonging to that group. So if my friends were drinking, I didn't want to appear to be less than them. So yes, there is that, but the important thing is that you need to be honest with yourself. It must begin from there, so that in any treatment program, what happens is that I remember at Cora, we call it recreational therapy. You had occupational therapy and we had recreational therapy. So, and this is one of the reasons I recommend when you're selecting a program for yourself or for a relative, there are certain things you need to look for. If one, for sure, you want to look at the program schedules. You want to look at the staff. You want to look at the environment, the safety there. Because there's no point in sending a person to a treatment facility where drug will be easily available. We know that you can't, as we say in Trinidad, you can't put cat to watchman cheese. You know what, as soon as you turn your back, you know what's going to happen. The cat is going to eat the cheese. So we know that people who go to treatment, they will be in withdrawal. And when you're in withdrawal, it's a very painful experience. Some people actually hallucinate when they're in withdrawal. Some people have what you call tactile hallucination, where they feel like things are crawling all over their skin. Some of them in withdrawal will see things coming, animals or people coming to hurt them or harm them. It is a very terrifying experience. It's called delirium tremens, where all kinds of imaginary things come in your mind. You feel like you're hearing things and you're seeing things that are not there. So the withdrawal, the fear of withdrawal, the experience of withdrawal is what pushes a lot of people to go back and use, because they know if they did not get the drug, what will happen. So that you want to, it impacts upon the safety, and the security of these treatment facilities. It is critical that they do not have access to drugs, and there must be stringent policy, disciplinary measures, that anyone who's caught using drugs while they're in treatment, they have to be either suspended or expelled. You can't keep them in that environment. You have to have strict rules. Now, remember, people in drug use, drug users and people who have become addicted, one of the first problems is that they live a very unstructured life. They are very indisciplined. They have come to a point where they can't make a promise to themselves and keep it. Because I can tell you from personal experience, for years I made resolutions that I will not touch that stuff again after some incident, some situation, only to find sometimes the very day that I made the resolution, I would renege on it. So that discipline becomes a big issue, and it has to become something that is inculcated again into the person, a desire and a confidence that they can make a decision and keep it. So going back to treatment facilities, physical exercise is a very important part. And at Coro, for instance, and at Piparo, where I worked as director, we had recreational therapy. That is, we'd organize a cricket match. And it may seem like, to people who do not know about treatment and rehab, even at Cora, the other staff who worked on the other sides of the hospital, they said, look at these fellas, no man. You know, they do so many, they give so much problems at home and in their communities. They created so many problems, and they come here now and nothing is physically wrong with them. They're not obviously sick, and we have to give them food and give them all the best treatment, and look out, they're all having a good time. They're playing cricket in the back of the hospital there in the ring road, not realizing that, when you have not worked in this environment, Jason, there are a lot of things you will not understand. And this is why a person who is seeking to assistance to stop and to stay stopped using drugs of any kind, it is critical that you go to people, professionals who are aware, who are able to understand what is happening, and who have the experience. So let's take a cricket match at Cora, for instance. The staff, myself included, will be looking at how the clients organize the cricket match to start with, how a captain is selected. That might sound simple, but among people who had become very selfish, self-opinionated, very disorganized, who never learn how to resolve conflict, just selecting a captain for a side is a big challenge, because it means someone will have to accept leadership position, right? Now, that is something that most drug addicts avoided when they were actively using. They never felt adequate to any situation. They would be the people who, if they had to take a leadership or position, make a speech in front of an audience or sing a song in front of an audience, they will have to get themselves plastered first. They never know how to do these things without taking a drink. You understand? So just accepting the responsibility of being captain for the side will say take a certain amount of movement towards responsibility and discipline. Now remember, if it is cricket, you have to play by the rules. And immediately you realize drug addicts and alcoholics never played by the rules. They never played by the rules of society when they were out there, Jason. Society said, don't use that drug, it is illegal, you're going to get arrested. Did they follow the rules? No. Because of the drive to feel good and feel happy and feel rewarded and to get their dopamine released immediately, they threw caution to the wind. And because of the craving and the withdrawal, they put themselves at risk. So, coming back to our cricket match, you understand cricket is you must play by the rules. You understand? And these are, so you'd have to learn now to play by the rules. Mean if you get bowled, you have to give up the bat. You have to give up your innings, right? You have to be honest. The umpire, whoever is selected to be umpire, has to be honest. He can't be biased. And honesty is at the root of recovery. Because if you're not honest, you're not even going to accept that you have a problem. You're going to keep blaming other people. So if you are selected to be the umpire, you can't take sides. You're going to cause chaos. In fact, you're going to have a lot of problems. Sometimes staff has to step in and remind you, you can't. If the person was stumped, they are out. If they were bowled in front of the wicket, they are LBW, they are out. If they are caught, they are out. And they have to follow the rules. So the whole team, all the people who are participating, all of these are people who are in the program of recovery, they have to be able to follow rules. Now, they also have to learn to postpone gratification. That is, you are only going to feel good when you win the match. But you also have to learn to deal with disappointment if you lose or if you get bowled. You understand? And these are important lessons for people who are in recovery. Because one of the first reasons that any one of us would have started using drugs is because we were having trouble postponing gratification. That is, we were people who wanted to feel good and feel good right now. See that, Jason? Because the same guy who, as a young person would have to apply himself, would study hard, write the exam with due diligence, and then get the results. And when he made high marks, then he'll feel good. You understand? Or after all of those efforts, the gardener would have to plow the land, refine the soil, plant the seed, water it, and continue to take care of the plants and groom them or whatever. And then eventually he gets the produce from which he'll have to select the bad ones, and then he takes the good one to market. And it was only when he sell it, then he gets the reward. And then he feels good. A lot of people do not develop those skills of postponing gratification. And those who would have been, like myself, introduced to mood-altering substances, alcohol, for instance, realize, but wait, after one beer, the first beer I took, I said, but wait, I felt happy. And I never forgot that. Because what the beer and what the alcohol does, it causes the brain to release dopamine. And dopamine is that substance that makes us feel happy. So if you go, it doesn't matter what caused the dopamine. If I went to the temple and I sang and I clapped and I, and I felt happy is because my brain released a little dopamine. But that takes a longer time. And so this is one of the reasons any substance that can give you that feeling of euphoria, you tend to gravitate towards it. And any substance that can do it the fastest become more addictive. So the guy who was using beers at first realized it taking too long. He moves up to red rum, and then that is still taking a little while because he has developed tolerance. He moves on to white rum and then punch-in rum, and you know the story. And when he's introduced to marijuana, well, that he thought he has now arrived. And then in the marijuana, they lace it with cocaine powder and make it a highly addictive. And then he realized the same place sells the cocaine, sells the marijuana. So he gets introduced to cocaine. And cocaine, as you inhale it, immediately you get the effect. So this is why those of us who are in the field of substance abuse and recovery and so on, we understand, these designer drugs that are coming on the market now, this is why they are becoming much more attractive, because the person wants to feel good and wants to feel good right now. And any drug that can deliver that effect is going to be the preferred drug and will eventually become the drug of choice. So coming back to the cricket match, you know, the inability to postpone gratification, you had to bowl out the whole side before you get to bat. You understand? And when you get to bat, you want to stay there as long as possible because you want to make as much runs. The more runs you make, if you can top score, you would feel at the top of the pile. You understand? It is all about working hard towards gaining a level of gratification. Now, let us go back to a basic principle of drug addiction. In fact, this is a principle in psychology, Jason. There's a fellow named, I think, Thomas Hobbes, who wrote way back in the 18th century that human beings, we are driven by what is called a pain pleasure principle. That is to say, almost every single thing we do, at the back of our minds, there's that pain pleasure principle. All right? So you came out to work today. Well, hopefully you'll get paid, but you'll have to postpone gratification until month end. You understand? Thank God you have learned that you can't go to the CEO every day and say, so I need my money today. You have to play by the rules. So you are practicing most of the important tenets of recovery already. So you can stay disciplined. You understand? That's the contract that you work during the whole month, you get paid at the month end, and then you can go and do whatever you want with your money. So same thing is happening. Work is seen as pain, Jason. I mean, I used to say in my drinking days, I love my job. It's just the work I hate. You understand? So a lot of us, we love the job because of the rewards of the job, but who cares about work? Work is seen as pain, but we tolerate it because we know the reward will come. You understand? But if we look at alcohol, for instance, now anything that produces pleasure, we gravitate towards it. Food, nice clothes, beautiful girl, nice car. I mean, this is what we work for. At the end of the day, that is what is the motivating principle behind what we do. And while we do that, we want to avoid pain. We want to, I mean, if you look at it worldwide and in Trinidad too, the work ethic is, we pride the fact that we could do the least and get the most. This is why we educate ourselves and we look for promotions so that we can just sit in a AC office and give instructions and we get more pay than everybody else. You understand? The supervisor on the job, the driver in the estate, everybody, based on that same principle, do the least and get the most. That is, avoid more pain and get the most pleasure. Same principle. But let us look at alcohol. Alcohol was the one thing, and the other addictive drugs, you know what they do? they eliminate the pain immediately, the pain of disappointment, the pain of um, whatever psychological stress we're going through. They, while doing that, they also provide pleasure at the same time. They cause your brain to release dopamine. So you'll understand why they become very attractive, because they do two things at the same time. You know, food will only give pleasure. Some other things will only give pleasure. When we get the pay, we feel happy. But these drugs, they're not only giving you the pleasure, they're delivering both at the same time. They're eliminating the pain and giving you the pleasure at the same time. And this is why they become so attractive and we become dependent on them. So if we come back to the physical, the exercise that was we spoke about in the presentation earlier on, the recreational therapy, of course, you get a chance to do physical exercise. And it is much more attractive if you play a cricket match than to go to a gym, you know, Jason. Because in a gym, I mean, yes, you get a chance to see other people who, you know, you get encouraged by if you have a trainer and all of that. But if you can play sport and enjoy it, just like the drug, you're enjoying it at the same time while you're getting the benefit at the same time. It's a win-win situation. And this is why a lot of people would rather engage in sports, because they're enjoying the activity while they're getting the exercise. It is the same reason I go do gardening in the morning. Before I come to do this program, I already went in the garden, because now in gardening, I could choose to plant flowers, which is very, I mean, pleasing to the mind to look at, but I also plant things that flower and produce fruit as well. So I get my exercise, you know, cutting the lawn and mowing the plants and doing all of that. And I also get rewarded with fruits. So it's just like the alcohol, a win-win situation as well. However, exercise, when we do exercise, if we look at the dynamics that is happening there, some of it was spoken to in the presentation earlier on. But you know, when we exercise, our breath pattern changes, Jason. So right now we are breathing very light and all of that because you are peaceful. I am peaceful. You know, when we are peaceful and serene, we take long breaths. But when we are angry and disturbed, what happens? We breathe very rapidly, you know, like that. So that when we are exercising, when we are playing cricket or in the gym or whatever kind of exercise, our breath patterns automatically change. So if we came to the gym or came to the match feeling a little bit down and depressed or sad about anything, or in withdrawal because we are trying to stop smoking or drinking, once we get involved in the match or in the exercise, our breath pattern will change and our mood will change as well. And as was described, the brain releases a little bit of dopamine and immediately our mood is transformed. And if we were in depression or anxiety because of withdrawal from the drug, immediately that will change. Our body chemistry will change. But I also want us to consider the fact is not only the body chemistry is changing, but when our breath pattern changes, our mood changes. There's an inverse relationship between our state of mind and our breath patterns. And while we don't have control over our state of mind, a lot of times we have control over the breath. So this is why if someone went to a trauma center, you know, suffering with anxiety, sometimes they give them a brown paper bag and tell them blow into it. And the whole reason is so that they will change their breath pattern. You understand? Once the breath pattern changes, the mood will change. So that there's another subtle thing that is happening when we do exercise, Jason. Now, when a person stops drinking, immediately their siblings, their parents, their friends, you know, their spouses will give them compliments, you know. encouragement. Boy, I'm glad that you stopped. You should have stopped a long time. And they start building hope. At least this time he looks like he's serious. He's going to his AA meetings and all of that. Those things feels good to the person. It is a sense of encouragement. But I want us to take this another step deeper. Now, what made us feel good? What felt good when we were drinking and using drugs? Our bodies felt good. Our insides, our mind, our body chemistry changed. And that is why we continue to use, because we had to keep it, we had to take the drug, otherwise we will go into withdrawal and become depressed or anxious. But now with exercise, our body as well is telling us something. When we start exercising and eating properly and staying off the drugs, your body is telling you every day when you wake up in the morning, hey, Jason, when last you felt like this? And there's no better reassurance when your own body tells you that, look, I'm feeling good. I'm sleeping better. I know I'm actually tasting my food. My muscles are tingling. That is a very powerful reinforcement. And that is one of the profound uses of exercise in recovery. I have helped a lot of people to come off cigarettes. And I have insisted that they start, at least if you can't run, at least walk. But the physical exercise will help to clean up the lungs, for a person who has been smoking for a long time. I have heard, I've never witnessed this, but I've heard people who witnessed postmortems, Jason, when they cut open the person's lung who was a smoker, the lung is as black as the pitch on the road. You know, that's how it gets with the carbon from the soot, from the cigarettes. Because remember, when you pull a cigarette, you know, a lot of seasoned smokers, they inhale the smoke and send it deep into the lungs to get the full effect. And if you keep it long enough, and I did that, I tested that. I used to smoke cigarettes. If I pull it and I hold it down for about 30 seconds, when I blow out, no smoke will come out. All the carbon would have been um, saturated onto the mucous membranes of the air sacs. Now, what do you think is happening there? My lung is probably getting blacker than your jacket. You understand? But the nice thing about this is that the lung is one of those organs, boy, that is very resilient. You know why? Because our very life depends on it. We could do without food, clothing, shelter for days, weeks, months, and years. But we can't do without air for more than a minute. After a minute, we'll start dying. Our cells will start dying. And that is why the lung is one of the most important organs that supports all the other organs, and every cell of the body is dependent on the lung, Jason. And when we are smoking, we are hitting at the very root of life. And I studied Hindi. I can speak Hindi as well, just as English. And the word for air, breath, in Hindi is prana. But prana is also the word for life. Air and life is seen as one in Hindi, prana, so that it makes that important point that when we smoking, we're really hitting at the root of life itself. So that when we stop and we exercise enhances the lung to clean itself. So you'll find if you stop smoking, once you start doing exercise, the lung will expel the carbon. Everything that gets into the lung eventually gets expelled. When we have a cold, we see it happening all the time. The mucus and the whatever we have in the lung is, with every breath, it comes to the top, and then we hawk and spit, as we say, get it out. When you're a person who stops smoking, they'll notice when the hawk and spit is coming out brown. It means the lung is cleaning up itself. And after 3 months, it is estimated your lung can get pink again. So that anyone out there listening to this program, I want to let you know that if you have decided to stop using any drug, especially cigarettes, marijuana, and those. Exercise, walk. If you can't run, walk. Whatever kind of physical exercise that stimulate the lung will enhance your recovery, will also help to repair all your organs, will also be able to help you to deal with all the withdrawal symptoms, because it causes your body to release all those chemicals that cause us to feel happy in the first place. Because that is what happens when if we even get a compliment and we feel happy, it is because the brain released a little dopamine. But if we went and take a drink, we force the brain to release dopamine, and that is why we feel happy immediately. So let us come back to the root of all of this, the postponement of gratification. Jason, in today's world, recently I have to compliment my granddaughter who got admitted into convent, and she took pictures and sent it on Facebook in a new uniform. And I know a lot of children this week started school, in the various denominational schools. And as I say this, I have been approached by so many people and told, about the great job the Mahasabha is doing with their all the denomination, the Mahasabha schools are really at the top of the pile when it comes to education. I now I have friends who are selecting Shiva boys for their sons. One friend of mine whose son passed for presentation college, he said no, he wants his son to go to Shiva boys. I felt so happy when I heard that, and I asked him why. He said because he has visited Shiva boys and the school is clean, it is well appointed, it has all the facilities, and they have been providing a good record in terms of achievement and so on. And so is Saraswati girls. And of course, Lakshmi girls is like the North Star in the education system in Trinidad and Tobago. And I feel so proud about my own Felicity Hindu School that topped the SEA this year. And my own alma mater, Felicity, Devi Hindu School that I went to as a little kid, they top in Bal Vikas. Jason, man, listen, Mahasabha is doing so many things that I feel proud to be a Hindu, to be an Indian in this country. But coming back to the thing is, our girls are doing very well. They are going to school and they are doing very well. And now they are entering the world of work. And they are competing on an even play field with our men and our boys. And so they are going out into the world of work. But what is happening, Jason? Traditionally, women, not only in the Hindu diaspora, the Indian diaspora, but across the board, women generally have been historically, in anthropology, we see this, where women have been largely responsible for socializing the young, teaching the young children the values, because they were home and they were the first one that bonded with the child. I remember father was always out there working, yes, supplying the food and providing the protection for the family and all of that. And yes, he does his fair share. And there were clear role division then. But now mother is also going out to work. Father is going out to work. And children are left to their own devices at home. And a lot of times the cell phone now and the iPad and the television is being used as the surrogate parent. Give them a phone and leave them with that. And sometimes we don't even know what these children are brighter than us when it comes to using the technology. And we don't know what sites they are visiting, whether it is safe, what they are learning from these devices, what are the games they are playing. And in the old days, the classes in the school was so small, there was so much respect for the teachers. When Sir came to visit the village where I lived in Gandhi village, all of us would be walking, even though they didn't belong to his class. But Sir is Sir. And in those days, they wear a tie and they really comported themselves well. And we were so respectful of our teachers. We couldn't even think of disrespecting a teacher. You understand? There was so much respect for the elders in the village as well. Jason, you know all of that has changed. And this is why this is not only lending itself to a breakdown in the discipline, a breakdown in the value system, but these would be, remember, this is why I set the stage for understanding why it would lead children into drug addiction later on, why it would lead them into crime as well. Because a lot of children do not ever feel a sense of belonging at home, because one of the first tasks in early childhood development is developing trust. And the mother who is working know that they will not be around to breastfeed the child, so they don't even initiate it. And breastfeeding is not only a function of nourishment, it is a function of bonding. And then they hire a maid. Sometimes these maids are school dropouts who have no children of their own, who are not very educated. And the maids have no knowledge really in the proper bringing of children. And besides, they don't have the bonding with the child. And what happens before they even form a relationship, they change job, they are replaced, and the child, for so many reasons, never bonds with anybody. Child learns that, look, you can't trust anyone. As soon as you start getting close to them, they go missing. You understand? And parents, to overcompensate, they give their children everything they want, because they say, look, now I'm working, and I was deprived of this when I was a child. So I want to make sure my children are not deprived. And as a result, they are literally teaching their children not to postpone gratification. Children are not learning to make sacrifices. Anything they want. In fact, they test their parents all the time. And the parents try to bribe the children with material things, with toys and shoes and clothing, to appease them, and the children take them for everything they could get. So the children see the parents as ATM, just to provide anything I want, and the children try, and the parents try to use material things to prove to the children that I love you, I care about you, and that develops way into teenage. And I'm seeing where now teenagers and even young adults having no respect for parents, demanding from the parents as though they have a right, which they develop from early childhood. And as a result, parents, sometimes you wonder, who's the parent here? You understand? And these parents will never be able to set the rules in the house, or tell the children, look, you can't go out here, or you can't do this, or you can't have these kinds of friends, or you can't use that kind of drug. Or you understand what I'm saying, Jason? It sets the stage for this indiscipline, and it sets the stage that is right for drug addiction and for crime. So I thought I'd mention those things this morning, because these are the precursors to drug addiction. It is not to say that we should keep our educated girls at home. And I have said this before this program finished, I don't want to appear to be a prophet of doom and gloom. I want to also suggest that there are solutions to this. And now COVID has brought, with every chaos, there's opportunity. COVID taught us that, look, people can stay home and work online. So many people are still online now. I have a sister in New York who's a billings person, who does the billing for hospitals and so on, and she's staying at home and working. My son, he works at American Express, and he comes for holiday and he's working from right here. Once you have internet connectivity, you can stay from anywhere. And look, I'm in my office and conducting this program, whereas before I would have had to physically come to the studio. So I'm saying this can happen, where mothers to be, or mothers that have young children, or mothers of childbearing age, they can stay at home and work online. Where that is not possible and mother has to come physically, you can have daycare centers on the job site. So mother comes with the child, and you can have a paid nurse, trained person looking after, where there's not so many children. You can, companies that are in close proximity can pool their resources and have a daycare where mothers can get time out to go and breastfeed their child and come back to their station, their workstations. Mothers will be better. They will be more psychologically, um, happy with that arrangement. They will be more productive as well, and they will continue to ensure and keep that bond with their child. The child will also develop. And this is not something new, Jason. I understand there are few companies that are doing it. I know in Israel, for instance, there's what you have the kibbutz system that operates the same way. And there are several places now where this is being done, where mother and child comes to work, child is left in on the same compound in another area, a play area that is designed for children with the toys and all the paraphernalia and so on, with a trained person. And mother go breastfeed, come back, plays with the child, or have lunch together with the child. And when they're coming home, they bring the child home again. And I must say something here as well. Fathers need to, if you have a working wife, you need to step up to the plate as well. You can't just expect you come home and pull the papers and she's, although did a full day's job, have to now come and cook and wash and sweep and clean and take care of children and look at their homework and all of that. Fathers need to get involved. This is a shared partnership. The children did not ask to come. Both of you got together, bring the children in the world, so that you must take the responsibility for their care and their upbringing. And most important, their socializing. So sometimes you can pull up this program, the ones on YouTube, show it to yourself and your teenagers, and have a discussion, hear how they feel about what Mr. Dwarika is saying, what Mr. Jason and Dwarika are talking about on this program, how you feel about that. Here, if they say we're talking nonsense, if they say so, well, you have a discussion, you have a discussion with them, or you can have them call me. There's not a problem. I will talk to them. The number is 671-3040. And if you know someone who has a problem with alcoholism or drug addiction and they would like to stop, of course they can reach me at 671. If you're 671-3040, if you are in Trinidad and Tobago, but if you are abroad, all you have to do is put 1868 before the number. And you can also call the station and get my contact information. They will also give you my WhatsApp number as well, but please call within reasonable hours, office hours, so that I can take your call and attend to it. If I can't attend to it right away because I'm seeing a patient and all of that, of course, I'll have to ask your indulgence there, to be patient. But I would really like to help anyone out there. Now, I also send out an invitation to any organization. Not too long ago, I did a lecture for the Hindu Women's Organization of Trinidad and Tobago. And I look forward to these opportunities where organizations that have an audience and they would like to sensitize the audience on alcoholism and drug addiction, temple groups, village council, church groups. There's no discrimination here. I will speak to any group of persons who would like to know more about this alcoholism and drug addiction. I would be quite willing to work, to work with you. And so I want to thank the station again for hosting me every week, giving free airtime as a public service to all our brothers and sisters out there. And I know those of you who feel a little bit shy to call the program, you can call me at 671-3040 after if you have any questions or comments on anything that we have said in the program here this morning. Again, I want to thank you, Jason, and I want to thank the staff for selecting the videos that springboarded this discussion we had this morning on exercise as part of recovery. Not only for recovery, all human beings, Jason, the value of exercise. If you want to build new cells and new muscle fiber and all of that, you must exercise in order to make your body stronger. And The school I went to, they being the school, there was a sign in the front of it that said, mens sane in corpore sano. It is Latin that said, you must have a strong mind in a strong body. It doesn't work any other way. A strong mind in a weak body will not work. A weak mind in a strong body does not work. You need to have a strong mind in a strong body, and you'll only have a strong mind and a strong body if you exercise. So I want to thank you again very much.
Yes, that was a perfect line to end the program this morning. So thank you again for taking the time to do this program. And like Mr. Dwarka said, and that wonderful video this morning, the importance of physical activity on the path to recovery. All you have to do is take that first step. I am Jason Kalu saying Sitaram for now.
Sitaram.